Please, just delete it, I whispered into my phone, my hands trembling as I stared at the notification lighting up my screen for the 100th time that evening. The silence on the other end stretched like a taut wire before Derek's voice came through, cold and calculated. Why would I do that, Mariah? It's just the truth. Before we embark on this incredible journey together, I have a small, heartfelt request. Please subscribe to my channel, give this video a like. It costs you nothing but means the world to me. And let me know in the comments which beautiful corner of the world you're watching from. Your support truly makes a difference. My name is Mariah Williams. I'm 47 years old, and 3 months ago, I thought I knew what rock bottom felt like. I was wrong. It was Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, when my phone started buzzing with messages from friends, colleagues, and even my elderly neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. At first, I assumed it was about the PTA fundraiser I'd organized, or maybe someone had seen my car parked crooked again at the grocery store. But when I opened the first message from my sister, my stomach dropped. "Have you seen what Derek posted? I'm so sorry, honey." The screenshot she'd sent showed my ex-husband's Facebook post from 2 hours earlier. A photo of him with his 24-year-old girlfriend, both grinning at some upscale restaurant I recognized as the place we'd celebrated our last anniversary. But it wasn't the image that made my hands shake. It was the caption. "Sometimes you gotta downgrade the house to upgrade the woman, LOL, #blessed life, upgrade complete." Underneath, 47 likes and counting. Comments poured in like digital salt in an open wound. His girlfriend had added her own comment with 3 fire emojis and a crying, laughing face. I set my phone down on my kitchen counter, the same granite surface Derek had insisted we install during our kitchen renovation last year. The same counter where I'd signed our divorce papers just 6 months ago, believing we could maintain some dignity through our separation. What Derek didn't know was that I'd kept detailed records of everything. When our marriage started crumbling in early 2024, I'd begun documenting incidents, not for revenge, but because my therapist, Dr. Sarah Chen, had suggested it might help me process the emotional manipulation I was experiencing. Every time Derek would say something cruel and then claim he never said that, every time he'd promise to respect boundaries and then cross them anyway, I wrote it down. The downgrade comment felt like the final piece of a puzzle I'd been unwittingly assembling for months. I picked up my phone again and scrolled through the comments on his post. His brother had written, "About time," with a laughing emoji. His coworker from the insurance agency had added, "Living your best life, man." But it was his girlfriend's comment that caught my attention. He told me about his starter marriage, 22 years, reduced to a rough draft. My phone buzzed with a call from my daughter Emma, away at college in Portland. Her voice was tight with anger when I answered. "Mom, Katie just sent me screenshots. Please tell me you're not seeing this." "I'm seeing it," I said, walking to my living room window where I could see Derek's old workshop in my backyard. He'd moved out, but left behind his woodworking tools, claiming he'd get them when he found time. "This is so typical of him," Emma continued. "Remember when he used to call your cooking experimental in front of your friends? Now he's doing it online for everyone to see." She was right. Derek had always been skilled at undermining me with plausible deniability. He'd phrase insults as jokes, make cutting remarks sound like observations, and when I'd express hurt, he'd accuse me of being too sensitive or taking things the wrong way. But this post was different. This was public humiliation designed to rewrite our history, painting me as the lesser choice he'd finally escaped from. After hanging up with Emma, I sat in my living room, our living room that I'd kept in the divorce settlement, and made a decision. I wasn't going to dignify his post with anger or pleading. Instead, I was going to tell my own story. But first, I had some research to do. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in months. I posted on social media. I'd been largely absent from Facebook since the divorce, finding the platform too full of happy couple memories I wasn't ready to see. But Wednesday morning, I crafted a single comment under Derek's post. Upgraded my piece 3 words, no explanation, no defensive paragraphs, no angry rants about his character or our failed marriage, Just a simple statement of truth. Within an hour, my comment had more likes than his original post. My phone started ringing immediately. My best friend Susan called first. "Mariah, I just saw your comment. That was perfect, classy, but pointed. I'm dying to know what you're really thinking." "I'm thinking I should have posted that 20 years ago," I said, and we both laughed. But Derek's reaction wasn't amused. He called that afternoon, his voice tight with the specific kind of anger he'd always displayed when he felt like he wasn't controlling the narrative. "What was that comment supposed to mean?" "Exactly what it said," I replied, stirring the soup I was making for dinner. Something I'd never been confident cooking while married to him, since he'd always critique the seasoning or suggest improvements. "You're making me look bad, Mariah. People are going to get the wrong idea." The irony wasn't lost on me. What wrong idea would that be? Silence. Then, "Just don't embarrass me online. We agreed to keep things civil." "We did agree to keep things civil," I said slowly. "You might want to review your own posts with that in mind." After he hung up, I sat down at my laptop and began typing something I'd been putting off for months. A blog post. Not about Derek specifically, but about the journey of rediscovering yourself after someone else has spent years defining you. I wrote about learning to cook without criticism, about sleeping through the night without someone making snide comments about my snoring, about making decisions, from what to watch on Netflix to where to vacation, based purely on my own preferences. I titled it The Peace Upgrade and published it on my dormant blog that evening. By Thursday morning, Derek's triumphant Facebook post had become a cautionary tale, screenshot and shared in several divorce support groups with comments like, "This is exactly why we left," and "The audacity is unmatched." My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This isn't over." The escalation began on Friday. Derek's new tactic was to flood my social media with fake concern. He commented on a photo I'd posted of my garden. "Hope you're remembering to water those plants regularly. You always forgot when we were together." He responded to my book club recommendation with, "She's always been a slow reader, but good for her for trying." Each comment was crafted to sound helpful while actually being diminishing. Classic Derek, plausible deniability wrapped in false concern. But I'd learned something important in the 6 months since our divorce. Documentation is power. I screenshot every comment, noting the timestamps. I saved his original downgrade post before he could delete it. I documented the phone calls, including the unknown number that had texted me threats. Most importantly, I started reaching out to other people who'd been in Derek's orbit over the years. My first call was to his ex-girlfriend from before we met, Jennifer. We'd actually become friendly during our brief overlap at a mutual friend's wedding years ago, and I'd always wondered why their relationship had ended so abruptly. "Oh, Mariah," she said when I explained what was happening, "I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. He did the same thing to me, just without social media, told everyone I was too emotional and that he'd leveled up with you." Pattern documented. My second call was to his former business partner, Mike, who'd abruptly ended their partnership 3 years ago. Derek had always claimed Mike was jealous of his success, but Mike's version was different. He had a way of taking credit for everything that went right and blaming everyone else for anything that went wrong, Mike explained. The final straw was when he told potential clients that I was the junior partner who handled the simple stuff. We were equal partners. Another pattern documented. That evening, I received a surprise visitor. Derek's girlfriend, Amber, stood on my front porch looking significantly less confident than she had in their restaurant photos. "Can we talk?" she asked. I invited her in, curious despite myself. She perched nervously on the edge of my couch, the same couch Derek had once criticized as too feminine for his taste. "I need to ask you something," Amber said, fidgeting with her car keys. "Did Derek ever tell you that your feelings were wrong? Like, not just that you were overreacting, but that your actual emotions were incorrect?" The question caught me off guard with its specificity. "Yes, frequently. Why?" "Because he's doing it to me, too," she said quietly. "And after I saw your comment about upgrading your piece, I started wondering if maybe you weren't the problem he said you were. We talked for 2 hours. I shared some of my documentation, not to poison her against Derek, but to help her recognize patterns she was already seeing. By the time she left, she had my therapist's phone number and a new perspective on gaslighting. She also had something I needed: screenshots of Derek's private messages about me, where he'd called me pathetic and desperate for commenting on his post. Monday brought an unexpected gift: Derek's overconfidence. Emboldened by what he perceived as my weakness for staying quiet over the weekend, he posted again. This time, it was a photo of him and Amber at a jewelry store with the caption, "When you find the real one, you invest accordingly. Some people are worth it, others are practice." The engagement ring emoji was impossible to miss, but Derek had made a crucial mistake. In his eagerness to humiliate me publicly, he'd tagged the jewelry store, Madison & Sons Fine Jewelry, where we'd bought my engagement ring 23 years ago. I knew the owner, Jim Madison, personally. His son had been in Emma's graduating class, and Jim had always been kind to me when I'd come in for ring cleanings or repairs over the years. I drove to the store Tuesday afternoon with a simple plan. "Mariah," Jim greeted me warmly when I walked in. "How are you doing? I heard about the divorce. I'm sorry it didn't work out." "Actually, Jim, that's why I'm here. Derek was in recently, wasn't he?" Jim's expression shifted slightly. "Yes, just yesterday. Why?" I showed him Derek's post on my phone. "I'm wondering if you might remember what payment method he used. You see, I'm still connected to our joint credit accounts until our final settlement is complete next month." Jim pulled up the transaction on his computer, his face growing concerned. "Oh no. Yes, he used the Visa ending in 4782, charged $8,400. Our joint credit card, the one I was legally responsible for as a co-signer until our divorce was finalized. Jim, I need to report this as an unauthorized charge. Derek and I have been divorced for 6 months, and he's been making purchases without my knowledge or consent." Within an hour, I had documentation from the jewelry store and a report filed with the credit card company. By law, since I hadn't authorized the purchase and Derek was no longer my spouse at the time of purchase, the charge was fraudulent. But the real revelation came Tuesday evening when Amber called me. "He's been lying about the timeline," she said, her voice shaky. "He told me you two separated in January, but I found some old texts on his phone. We started dating in November. You were still married." "We didn't separate until February," I confirmed quietly. "He's been cheating for months longer than he told me, and now he's using your credit to buy me an engagement ring?" Amber's voice cracked. "This is insane." "Amber, I need to ask you something important. When did he first tell you about wanting to marry you?" "Last week, right after he posted that thing about upgrading women." The pieces clicked into place. Derek's entire public campaign against me hadn't been about moving on. It had been about manipulating Amber into accepting his proposal by making her feel like she was winning some kind of competition. "He used me to pressure you," I said slowly. "And he used both of us to fund the ring," Amber replied. "We'd both been pawns in Derek's game, but now we were comparing notes. The unraveling happened faster than I'd expected. By Wednesday, the credit card fraud investigation had flagged multiple suspicious charges Derek had made over the past 3 months, all on accounts I was still legally tied to. The engagement ring was just the largest single purchase. Meanwhile, Amber had done some investigating of her own. She'd contacted Derek's previous girlfriend before me, and then the one before her. The pattern was identical: charm, isolation, gradual undermining, public humiliation during breakups, and immediate introduction of a upgrade replacement. "He's like a one-man emotional Ponzi scheme," Amber said when she called Thursday morning. "Each new woman gets told she's the improvement on the last one, and each old woman gets publicly degraded to make the new one feel special." That afternoon, Derek called me in a panic. "The credit card company froze our accounts. They're saying I committed fraud. You need to fix this, Mariah." "I can't fix fraud that actually happened, Derek. It's not fraud. I'm your husband." "You were my husband, past tense, 6 months ago." The silence stretched long enough that I wondered if he'd hung up. Then, "You're going to ruin me over this? Over a comment online?" "Derek, this isn't about your comment. This is about you using my credit without permission to buy an engagement ring for your girlfriend. That's actual fraud." "I'll delete the post," he said quickly. "Too late for that. I already have screenshots, and so do about 50 other people." Friday morning brought the coup de grace. Amber had broken up with Derek Thursday night and posted her own Facebook status. "Ladies, if a man talks badly about his ex to impress you, he'll talk badly about you to impress the next one. Learn this lesson just in time. No thanks. #red flags." She'd tagged Derek in the post. His response was predictably defensive. A long comment about how some people can't handle real love and dodged a bullet. But the damage was done. The pattern was visible to everyone now. Friend after friend began commenting with their own observations about Derek's behavior over the years, instances they'd witnessed but hadn't spoken up about before. His brother, who had initially supported his upgrade post, commented, "Dude, maybe it's time to look in the mirror." That evening, Derek called one final time. "I'll delete everything," he said. "The original post, all my comments. We can both just move on." "Derek, I moved on months ago. That's what you never understood. You can delete the posts, but you can't delete the pattern, and you definitely can't delete the fraud charges." "What do you want from me, Mariah?" For the first time in our entire relationship, the question was genuine. No manipulation, no anger, just exhaustion. "I want you to stop defining yourself by who you think you're better than, and I want you to pay back the credit card charges. And then we're even?" "Derek, we were never in competition. That was your game, not mine." 3 months later, Derek paid back every fraudulent charge as part of our final divorce settlement. He also agreed to public service, speaking at a men's support group about healthy relationship patterns. His new therapist had suggested it might help him understand why his relationships kept following the same destructive cycle. Amber and I weren't friends. That would have been too complicated. But we occasionally exchanged supportive messages. She was dating someone new, taking things slowly, and had learned to trust her instincts about red flags. The downgrade post became a teaching tool. I shared my story, with permission, at a local women's group, using it to illustrate how documentation, support networks, and choosing dignity over defensiveness could transform even the most humiliating situations into empowering ones. Emma called me Christmas morning with news that made everything worthwhile. "Mom, I used your upgraded my peace line when Brad tried to make me feel bad about our breakup. It worked perfectly." The best revenge, I learned, isn't revenge at all. It's becoming so genuinely at peace with yourself that other people's attempts to diminish you become irrelevant. Final words. When someone tries to publicly humiliate you, remember that their behavior says everything about them and nothing about you. Document everything. Surround yourself with people who see your worth and respond with the dignity they couldn't muster. Your peace isn't an accident. It's an upgrade you give yourself. Before I go, I want to thank you for taking this journey with me. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes we all need a reminder that our worth isn't determined by someone else's opinion of us. Take care, and remember, you're worthy of respect, always. Mariah Williams.